So I'm like, wow, there's a complete gap in the corporate world, entrepreneurship, and it's all business. So for women in business, I feel like we are high performing. We just need the extra resources and development tools to reach our goals, to ultimately turn our dreams into reality, but also turn our dreams into dollars.
Today, I'm your host, Daniela. I'm Penji's influencer coordinator, and today I'm joined with Chisolu Isiadinso. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name.
No, you're perfectly fine. You actually did better than most. It is pronounced Chisolu Isiadinso, but I tell a lot of people they can call me Chi, like the flat iron. Just something simple.
Wow. Okay. Chisolu Isiadinso?
Adinsa.
Isiadinso. Okay, nice. Nice to meet you, Chisolu. Kai, Chi. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry.
Chi.
Chi. Yeah. Hi, Chi. It's great to have you on the podcast today. Obviously, you are also a podcast filmer yourself. And we are really excited to sort of learn a little bit more about your journey as an influencer through the podcast on your social media. For anybody who's listening that doesn't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, what your podcast is about, what your business, what you're working on, all of that?
Okay. Well, I'm Chisolu. As I mentioned, you could call me Chi for short. I'm born and raised here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I have been in business for over 8 years, but I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I've worked I've started up many companies such as in construction. I have a food truck, and now I also have a consulting business where I help women in business turn their dreams into reality through community resources and education. So I'm just grateful to be here, and I can't wait to share my journey along with the listeners.
That's amazing. Yeah. So you obviously focus mostly on helping women grow, right?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about why you chose to sort of gear your business and your goals towards women in the business industry and not, I would say, children or men or whatever other audience could have
Yes,
been?
yes. So my journey has been kind of as an entrepreneur, but a lot of times people don't understand that I'm still full time in corporate and I work remotely. Thanks to the COVID and the pandemic. But when I first started my journey back in 2015, where I started my first company, I just had graduated from Southern University with my MBA, and I am mostly in supply chain management. So my day job is a buyer, and my night job is a consultant. But I started this journey because I saw a gap as it relates to women who are both either in corporate as well as entrepreneurs. There's a gap in development, gap in resources, gap in mentorship. And because of my challenges as it related to the issues that I was facing in corporate as I was trying to move up levels, negotiate to get more salary, I also found those same gaps as an entrepreneur as I was trying to access funding, access resources to land contracts. So I'm like, wow, there's a complete gap in the corporate world, entrepreneurship, and it's all business. So for women in business, I feel like we are high performing. We just need the extra resources and development tools to reach our goals, to ultimately turn our dreams into reality, but also turn our dreams into dollars.
Yeah, I agree. I think as a woman, I've certainly felt that sort of gap in sort of I've never most of the time upper management, for me, owners of companies, CEOs are always men. And that's not to say that it's bad, everyone who's been able to make it in the business world, it's very commendable. But it is very noticeable how you mentioned how there is a lot more of a space for men. There's a bigger expectation. It's a lot more normal to see a man in a position of power than it is to see a woman on that sort of side.
And what's so crazy, like the dynamics of my business is when I started this company, it started off as a podcast, a vision. The reason why I named it Forever A Dreamher because women always dream. It doesn't matter if you are just leaving college. It doesn't matter if you land that first corporate job, you want more. You want more money. You want more opportunities. If you become a mom, you want more resources to be able to be a better mom, have work-life balance. And even as an entrepreneur, you want more. You either want to grow your company to the next level, you either want to exit, or you want to have employees, or you want to be able to have the autonomy. So women are always dreaming, and I feel like as we go back to the stats, more than the workforce is almost made up more than 50% of women, and that's growing as baby boomers are leaving. When you look at entrepreneurship, women are growing in entrepreneurship. They are having more than, nearly one third of businesses are owned by women. So it's very imperative that we embrace women, developing them, providing them with the resources, helping them with the mentorship. Because as you can see, women aren't going anywhere. There's an actual woman running for president and has her ticket to win. So that is showing you that times are changing. And the reality is we have to be able to develop so we can drive economic impact, but also help our businesses thrive.
And adapt, right? Because I think as a woman, we are more complicated in a lot of ways. But I've noticed there's sort of a difference in how when I joined the workforce after I finished school, I also realized how much more difficult it was for me as a woman in a lot of different aspects. For example, like, as a girl, you are expected to show up to work on your period, right? You are Companies are less inclined to hire you if they know that you're pregnant, because that means that they have to give you maternity leave, and they don't want to give maternity leave. There is a lot more sort of bodily related things that could potentially affect your job, that I think sort of the world of corporations hasn't learned to adapt to yet. And it also, like you said, it made me realize like we need to adapt, because the amount of women joining the workforce is a lot bigger now, whereas before it was like mostly the men going to work and like all the women would stay home and take care of the kids. And now, there's a growing need for women to sort of be in the business world, and it's been like that for a while. It's not like this is something new, and we are not adapting to that accordingly, I think.
And how I look at it, getting not the point of where we are coming in and saying we're women and we want to own everything. No, we want to we want to collaborate. We want to embrace the talents that we have to add to whatever company that we're working for or whatever company that we're owning. Because the thing is, everybody has talents that could be a part of the major team and a major vision. So I feel like with development, resources, whether that's leadership development, that's getting mentors on the job, that's developing programs for women to where they can really thrive and do better, not only as an entrepreneur, but also as a woman who wants to climb the ladder or who wants to be of service and a beneficial in their company. So I really believe in this whole movement of training, resources, education, and community, because that's very important.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there definitely are changes that are still in the works, and adapting and, sort of creating a new environment for all of the women that are coming, for future generations, for, our generations, and for anybody that sort of is in that place. And I think that that's very interesting that you have sort of been able to gear your business towards that.
Yes.
So I have a question for you. How difficult has it been for you to grow your podcast? How easy or what are some challenges that you had to face throughout it? I think we are in a sort of time where I've noticed there's a lot more, a bigger influx in podcasts in general. Podcasting is all the rage nowadays. And I think it's harder to stand out when there's so much, So what do you think you have sort of faced with that problem? Because with our podcast, we face that, a lot of similar issues where it's like a lot of people are doing podcasts, and what are we going to do that is going to make our conversations more interesting, that's going to make people want to listen to our podcast.
I would say the challenges that I have faced have a lot to do with either time or money. And the reason why I say that is because I'm only one person who's not only doing a podcast, but running the business, curating events, curating courses and workshops, curating digital content. So I found a gap where I need to be able to put more time aside to curate the episodes, to give not only the information to women, but also create a space where they can come and listen to me and other women who are sharing their stories, but also giving them insights behind how they can do better in their careers. The thing with money, I have been trying to find this whole thing of how can I get money and find sponsors for my podcast. And it has been very challenging trying to find the right sponsors who could come on and even put an ad, do a commercial ad, or even where I could come on and share information as it relates to the tools that women are using in business. So these are two things that I have been working on to do better at. And I think over time things have been getting better, but I'm very optimistic, and I do say that in the future I will be able to have the right sponsors, but also have the time to be consistent with the podcast as well.
Yeah, it is a whole thing of like giving it time, right? And I think if you're putting quality content out there, eventually it's going to start doing well. I think a lot of times if you're not doing something that's very good, actually, I take that back because I've seen plenty of people do really well who are not putting up good things.
Yeah,
So, I was gonna say, if you don't have good content, you're not gonna do well. But I'm taking that back. I think with social media and all of this internet stuff, it's all very unpredictable, and I think you just gotta stay consistent and keep going. And eventually, I think it's kind of like this idea of throwing spaghetti at a wall and then see it sticks.
I definitely think consistency is key. And as a mom, professional, entrepreneur, like you really have to find a time to prioritize things that could grow the business. And I really am starting to believe and feel that the podcast is a super tool for me because that what separates me from my competition. The fact that I'm able to interview women who could tell their stories, but share information and not gatekeep. And I think that has been the biggest thing in our in this day and age is there's so much content to consume online, but you don't really know how to decipher what's good or bad. But hearing the stories of other women who are not afraid to share their journeys, who don't believe in gatekeeping, I think that's what people want, authenticity.
Yeah, I think authenticity is definitely missing. I think there's a lot of fake authenticity out there, right? Like there's a lot of people out there who are seemingly being transparent about, certain things and they're not. And I think honesty is really important because it can also help you when you have a clear picture of something, then you can make better decisions. But if you have sort of a half truth or a really polished lie, you're not going to be able to replicate whatever that other person's success was because you don't even have a correct understanding of what they did or the situation that they were in to be able to be successful.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen like a lot of sort of, especially with influencing. I work with influencer marketing mostly at here at Penji, and I've noticed a lot of when we're going through influencers that we want to do sponsored videos with or that we want to collaborate with, like you, who we are filming. I go through so many people, and when I'm sort of vetting them, I've seen so many people who honestly just want the money.
Yeah.
And it's fine to sort of want money, right? Because it is a job. So it's not wrong that you want money, but I've seen so many people who solely focus on that because then that means that they are just making really insane content that they just want to make money out of. And they are not trying to give value to the brands that they're promoting. They're not sort of connecting with an audience. It's really difficult. And I've seen so many people also who give this really strange advice, very questionable advice, especially for things like this, like business growth. And then I've seen so many people being like, this is how I make $1 million while I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so generic. Now, don't get people have their own experiences and it's situational. I really believe that I agree. It should not be driven only by the money. When you're walking in your purpose and you're doing amazing things that's aligned with creating a huge impact, the money will ultimately come along with that. And like, I think that as people are being patient and like with me, I can speak for myself. I really love what I'm doing. Not because of someone's telling me to do it, but because I've been put in my situation to where I want to be a vessel to help the next generation overcome challenges as they are trying to grow in their corporate careers or as they are trying to grow as an entrepreneur. None of this stuff is easy, but with resilience, with hard work, and with a community, I think all things are possible.
Yeah, I agree. I think money will eventually come to you, and I agree that it is important to sort of ask for it. You shouldn't just be doing work for free forever. So
That's
it's definitely not that what I mean, but it is important to have that passion, to care a little bit. You can't just be like, "Oh, if you're not paying me, I'm not breathing for you." Like, because I feel like it really is sort of breaks a bond that you can have and a trust that you can build. And at least for us as a brand, we care to see that the people that we are working with also care, because that is also going to give you better results. If we are working with a person who has an audience that trusts them, they're going to be more likely to use our product than if you're working with someone who nobody trusts.
and I that you have to trust. Like, it's, to be honest, user generated content, is that what it's called? Like, when you're doing just because you love their product, it's more authentic than you doing it because someone called you or emailed you to say, hey, we love what you're doing. We want you to, create content for us. I think it's better when you do it without expecting anything in return. So now that you're putting in the work without expecting anything, the money, the opportunities, the notoriety, it kind of comes along with that.
Yeah, and I think we've seen so many people who grow that way nowadays, right? Like, who sort of just started making videos because they thought it was fun, or they thought that their conversations with their friends were really funny, and they were like, you know what? Let's just make it into a podcast. And then, you see them, and nowadays there's influencers who have millions and millions of followers and listeners, and I'm reminded of this podcast that I remember. They were two girls who just they were best friends. They were just talking to each other and they started filming it and putting it into a podcast, and they didn't think anybody would listen. And, I think when they started filming it, it was literally just like a conversation through their computer. They had no mics. It was just really bad setup. And people cared because they had good banter, so they would just listen to whatever stupid things they were talking about, because they weren't even having like a theme. It was just like, hi, how was your day? Good. And yours? And it sort of grew and grew and grew, and like, from what I know, like, their podcast now is really big, and as they sort of grew it, they also started to find a more sort of theme that they would talk about. And I remember they started talking about reading books for celebrities, like celebrity biographies, and then they would be like, oh, did you read Brad Pitt's book? And they'd be like, yeah. And they would just talk about the book and the conspiracy theory, and people were like, wow, this is really cool. And the podcast got really big, and now that they actually ended up quitting their jobs and just focusing on that. And to me, like, that kind of story is just also becoming more and more common.
I definitely agree, especially in the work that you guys do with influence and marketing. Like, one minute you could person who like doing content to now it really changed your lifestyle to where you're doing content full time, but with products that you love and doing it with the people that you love too.
Yeah, I agree. It is, I mean, I think passion, love it takes you very far.
For real.
So, Chi, it's been great having you. It's been really interesting talking to you. It has been a really great conversation. For all of our listeners who don't know where to find you, who could use some of your advice, for anybody who would want your help, where could they find you?
Okay, they can actually find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn at Forever A Dream Her with the HER. So again, Forever A Dream Her with the HER. I am on TikTok, but I'm really trying to do better with TikTok as I'm getting acclimated. So you can find me on TikTok as well. And if you are listening and you are a woman who is in business, whether you're in corporate or you're in entrepreneurship, we have a community and you can join for as little as free. We have a free membership and we have a paid option, but it's at We Are Dreamology, Dream, DreamOlOgy.com. And you can find out more information. We're looking for women who want and yearn for a community to come in and get to know us, and so we can share information, tips, and also help you on your journey so you're not navigating alone. But thank you again, Mariella, for having me on this podcast. And it really means a lot. And I hope this isn't the last time that we continue our relationship.
No, of course not. We really hope that we can keep collaborating with you, that you can sort of also see how great it is to work with companies like ours, with yours. You know, we're a really great fit. Because Penji is also focused on helping businesses grow, right? We sort of support them on that graphic design side. Um, it's been great having you. We will be adding all your links so that our listeners can see. And guys, we will see you on the next time.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody.